Hey everybody, welcome back. Pop Retro. You can find me on social media at Pop Retro 1, at Instagram, and on Twitter. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/popretro1. Also, you can find me patreon.com/popretro. So, wanted to take a few minutes today because as of this recording, this posting today, September 26th, it is the 40th anniversary of my favorite show of my entire childhood, Knight Rider. Knight Rider premiered on September 26th, 1982. And let me tell you, it's hard to believe that it's been 40 years. So I'll date myself here. I was 6 years old when the show premiered. And gosh, my earliest memories of watching TV with my mom mostly, and my parents, but mostly my mom. Gosh, I remember Greatest American Hero. I remember watching that as like the most earliest memory of television watching. And then after that, you know, there was The Fall Guy, and my mom liked Magnum PI. And so all of those 80s shows, for me though, I mean, I would say that the Dukes of Hazzard was right up there at the top. And I had so many Dukes of Hazzard General Lee little cars. And in fact, you can see one behind me on the shelf right there with the Boss Hogg Cadillac and the police car, the Cruiser. You can barely see them right there on the shelf in the background. I usually have a Knight Rider car back here, but I've actually taken it off the shelf so I can show it in this video. But the Dukes of Hazzard, along with shows like The Fall Guy, it was just that car stunt mania that was going on with Smokey and the Bandit in the movies. And I think those old school rural CB movies kind of led to that. And Knight Rider came along in 1982. And I think just sort of combined a lot of stuff that was going on at the time, such as the burgeoning digital and computer industry and the high-tech stuff that was coming out, and kind of the fears and also expectation about what technology was going to bring with talking cars and artificial intelligence and a lot of that stuff. And the 80s really was a time where, you know, everybody was thinking high tech. We've got computers now, and the computers are coming. Everybody was wanting to get a computer in their home. So Knight Rider kind of fed off of all of those ideas, along with keeping the excitement of the car stunt genres that was going on in TV and movies at the time. So you had tons of car stunts, and to go along with the all the high tech stuff that was going on. So as opposed to just explaining Knight Rider to you, most of you watching this, you know what it is, and if you don't, you can look it up. And I'll probably do more videos in the future on Knight Rider and what it's about, maybe just some more in-depth stuff. But today I just wanted to share my little Knight Rider collection, mainly focusing on physical media, because that's what this channel is about. So I want to say I was 6 years old on September 26, 1982, and I saw that premiere episode, and I have really super vague memories from those years. It's like you don't remember a lot when you're super young, but I remember watching that specifically because I was so into it. I thought the car looked so sleek, that 82 Trans Am, and just the action and adventure and the excitement of the episode. And then one of the scenes that I remember really vividly was when those two sort of petty criminals they show up occasionally throughout the episode. They're trying to steal Kit, and in this one scene, one of the guys, he takes this brick and he tries to throw it through the window, like the driver's side window of Kit, and it bounces back and hits him in the face. And 6-year-old me thought that was just some funny stuff. I mean, I just found that hilarious. So fast forward to like 1988, and now I'm 12 years old. Knight Rider's been off the air a couple of years. It feels like, you know, those years between 6 and 12 feels more like 30 years because, you know, every year just you're learning so much, I think, as a kid, that it just feels like an eternity has passed, and I spotted Knight Rider on TV. It was in syndicated reruns on WWOR out of New York. And I live on the West Coast. I live in Oregon. So this was kind of cool that my little rural cable system had WOR on there. So so there it was. They were showing like 2 Knight Rider episodes a day on like Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. I can't, maybe it was during the week, but I feel like I caught this on a weekend. And of course, I used to video record everything. So I got my VHS tape out and recorded as many Knight Rider episodes as I could between like 1988 and 1990. And one of those was the pilot episode. And those VHS tapes that I recorded stuck with me clear up until like the early 2000s, because that was the only way that I could rewatch the show. That was the only way to do it. I guess in the 90s they did have, Time Life came out with some VHS collections. So you could buy like 2 episodes on a VHS. And I think I had some of those, but it really wasn't until the DVD sets came out, when TV on DVD started becoming a thing in the early 2000s, that I believe it was in 2004 when they Universal released Knight Rider, the complete first season on DVD. And I watched it, and it had all those missing scenes that were cut out for syndicated reruns. So for those of you who don't know, in syndication, they would cut these episodes down and cut out some of the kind of more meaningless stuff to make the actual runtime of these TV episodes shorter, so that the stations who were airing them could insert more commercials into these reruns for more commercial revenue. And so that was one of the scenes that was cut, was the crook trying to throw the brick through Kit's window, and it bounces back and hits him in the face, because I remembered it from when I was 6. So I didn't see that again until 2004. So that's what, like 22 years later, I'm guessing. I think it was 2004. So anyhow, with that, all of that said, here's a look at that 2004, the complete season 1 on DVD that Universal released. And these, the releases I have are, of course, North America, US releases. So there have been some really cool releases overseas that I've seen online, but I just own North America stuff. And there's a look at the back. Now this is still a great release. Knight Rider has been released since then on Blu-ray, which I'll show you in a little bit. But I usually get rid of my DVDs when I upgrade stuff, but there's only a select few that I've kept DVDs of, and Knight Rider is one of them. Especially this season 1 set. And the reason why is because it has special features, including a commentary with David Hasselhoff, the star of Knight Rider, and Glenn A. Larson, the creator of Knight Rider, who passed away back in 2014. So there's a commentary on the premiere, the pilot episode on this. And also this includes, along with some other extras, it includes Knight Rider 2000, which was a pretty subpar movie sequel to Knight Rider that aired in 1991. Not a great movie, not a good movie, but it does have Hasselhoff is in it. Edward Mulhare, who played Devon, is also in it. And so it's the only way to get that, I believe, on disc, to have it on disc, because it was not released in the later re-releases and the later Blu-ray releases of Knight Rider that, say, Mill Creek Entertainment released, so, which is the Blu-ray set that I have. So anyhow, I still have my season 1 set. I have all my season sets of Knight Rider. So here is season 2. Season 2 might have been my favorite season. I know it's a fan favorite season. You've got the Goliath episodes, and I don't know, April, Rebecca Holden as April takes over the mechanic position in a casting change. Although Bonnie was just fine. I was a fan of both, but I just think that season 2 really just kind of captured the 80s of, like, think of James Bond movies of the 80s. And that's kind of what you get with season 2. They were really like, I felt like channeling, you've got this guy who's essentially James Bond, and with his gadgets, i.e. the car and all the gadgets that come with it, and this, high-tech crime-fighting force. And a lot of the episodes were really sort of over the top in that way that James Bond films of the 80s really were. The Roger Moore films, basically, I'm thinking of. In fact, there you can see Hasselhoff as Garth Knight right there. So, okay. And we've got season 3 on DVD. Season 3 had some great episodes. In fact, the season 3 premiere episode, called Night of the Drones, has become one of my absolute faves. It was set and filmed on location in San Francisco, which they like to do on premiere episodes. They like to go on location somewhere. It was just something a lot of shows did back in the 80s, back in those days, to make them stand out, as opposed to being shot, on the back lots and in and around Los Angeles. But the Night of the Drones episode, as I was just saying about 80s James Bond, I feel like now that episode really, really captures the spirit of 1985 escapist action adventure. There is, and in fact, I think Night of the Drones is probably like a perfect episode to show somebody who's never seen Knight Rider, to say, you don't have to know a lot about the backstory and all the mystique around the characters that they create throughout the course of the series to actually watch Night of the Drones. And you get this, just this really 2-hour episode, spectacular, that really just kind of shows all of the things that I think made Knight Rider, it made it cool, it made it fun, it made it super escapist, and also it's like quintessentially 80s. Like, it premiered in 1985, that episode did, and this is 1985, is what you get when you see that episode. And there's some scenes from season 3. Season 3 also, of course, featured fan favorite Kit versus Car, which was the return of Kit's evil twin. There was a season 1 episode also, and so that's another fan favorite. I would say overall the season 2 just has a better mix of episodes, fun episodes that I return to than season 3. But season 3 comes close, I think. A really good season. And season 1 was awesome too. The difference between season 1 and the rest of the series, of course, is the budget. They had such a lower budget in season 1, and there's a kind of a change in tone after about the first 8 or 9 episodes. I think after like episode 8, the executive producer passed away, and so a new exec producer came on board. Glenn A. Larson had left the series after writing and kind of just overseeing the first several episodes. So that first season is a little uneven in its tone, but it's still very fun, and it's a lot more low budget and sort of rural also. Season 2 really it gets a little more urban. Season 3, it's like super urban. It's like where Michael Knight, instead of a cowboy going to dusty little towns to help people out, he's like starts taking on, these corporate bad guys in high rises in big cities. So anyhow, then we have finally season 4, the final season, 1985-86. And this, of course, is the season that featured the Super Pursuit mode, which even as however old I was, I guess I was 10 years old when the final season came out. I was not a fan of Super Pursuit mode. It just felt like, the saying, jump the shark. Knight Rider turbo boosted the shark, I guess, because it's just the original conceit, at least in my little kid brain, was that this was a guy fighting crime in a car that had some mystery. It kind of blended in. There were other Trans Ams on the road, even if they didn't have a red scanner light in the front. And so then all of a sudden you have this ability to grow these wings, and all this extraneous stuff just comes out. And is there an image of Super Pursuit mode on this? I don't know. Interestingly, there's no image of Super Pursuit mode on the packaging for the season 4 DVDs. But also, it's just, you could kind of get away with, stretching the limits of reality with Knight Rider. And you could kind of explain away some of the wilder, sillier stuff. Like, okay, well, all right. So the car can jump without a ramp. Okay, because he's got like a jet engine in there that is able to propel it or something like that. Now, probably not ever able to do that in a car such as a Pontiac Trans Am. But you could believe it. You could like stretch your belief system to think that, okay, I can buy into that. That's, that's cool. But when it came to Super Pursuit mode, you had all these lines on the car, and it also had the EBS, the emergency braking system, that had these like this big flap comes up on the top of the car, and these two flaps come out on the side, which allows the car to stop from 400 miles an hour or whatever to, on a dime. But the problem is there's these, it's like, well, there's no way that flap is on the top of the car if there's also T-tops that are glass on top of the car. Just stuff like that made it completely unrealistic, even to a 10-year-old. And so it kind of like, I kind of lost the I don't know, the magic was kind of gone for me at that point. Nonetheless, there are a couple of episodes worth watching on season 4. Because it is my favorite show, a bad episode or season of Knight Rider is going to be a lot more fun for me than watching a good season of, a lot of other shows. So there you have it. Those are the 4 original releases of Knight Rider from Universal on DVD. Now, a little bit later, Mill Creek Entertainment released the complete series. When did they release it? Let's see if there's a copyright on here. Looks like around 2016. Looks like around 2016 they released Knight Rider on Blu-ray. Just a typical Mill Creek set. It was pretty, no frills. I don't think there's any. Yeah, there were no special features. So all those special features that I mentioned on the DVDs did not get ported over to the Knight Rider Blu-ray set from Mill Creek. Look at the back. There's some of the images down below. But it's kind of nice to have, obviously, I enjoy watching this in HD now. So I can watch episodes in HD. It is fun, though, to go back occasionally and watch the pilot episode with that commentary on the DVD. I think there's a few instances of, I don't know, like the intro, the original intro isn't correct on a couple episodes from the DVDs to the Blu-rays or something like this, and which is not a big deal to me at all, and is even less of a deal at all to me on other shows. But on Knight Rider, where I'm a little more into it and have a little more knowledge, it is kind of fun to see is the those little things that sometimes get missed when companies try to release their shows onto physical media. So that was Knight Rider on Blu-ray, and it was simply season 1, 2, 3, and 4 on these. And this, I believe, is still in print. It seems like it goes out of print and then comes back into print. I'm not sure if it's actually still in print now, but it seemed like I saw it for, it's usually around like $50 or something when I see it on Amazon, I think. So anyhow, one more thing I wanted to share for physical media with Knight Rider was there have been a couple of attempts, apart from that 1991 TV movie, to revive Knight Rider. In the late 90s, they had something called Team Knight Rider, which I didn't see every episode, but I caught it when I could, and wasn't really into it as much as the original Knight Rider, and it never got a physical media release, at least not North America. And maybe if it did somewhere else, somebody let me know. And I have caught it on streaming here and there over the years. But in 2008, they tried it again. NBC brought back a Knight Rider revival, and that only lasted a season, and it did get a DVD release, which I kind of chuckle at because you can see it says season 1, as if there was going to be a season 2, and perhaps there was when they created this, and it wound up being the only season. I think 18 episodes plus the pilot movie. And Hasselhoff did make a cameo appearance in the pilot movie, so it was connected to the original series in that sense. They tried to make it a sequel series, which I appreciate. I like adding to the story, adding to the universe of something rather than just completely redoing it and rebooting it. It just makes it more fun, I think, for fans, or at least it does for this fan, for me. So there you have it, Knight Rider, the 2008 series you can get on DVD. I don't believe there was ever a Blu-ray release of this. So there you have it. Now, real quick, just some other things. I have 4 books that were written about Knight Rider. The first one from 2002 was called Knight Rider Legacy. Now, this was the very first book I ever bought about Knight Rider, and I bought it, I think, sometime between 2002 and 2004, whenever I just happened upon it, probably on the internet somewhere, and then went on Amazon and grabbed it. This was written by Joe Huth. Sorry, Joe, I'm not sure how to say your name. And Richie F. Levine. Now, Joe Huth is the guy who runs the Knight Rider Historians. And they have this awesome YouTube channel, Knight Rider Historians. You can check it out. They actually own 2 of the 5 surviving kits that were actually used on the show. They own 2 of them. And they also have just recently, like within the past year, they have located and acquired one of the 2 original semi-trucks that was used as the flag semi, the Foundation for Long Government, the Mobile Command semi, and also the trailer. A little bit late, just a few months back, they reported that they actually found the actual trailer, the one that Kit drives up into, and they are restoring both and trying to restore them both to how they looked in the show. So it's been really fun. They tracked their what they're doing and their progress. They track their progress on their YouTube channel. So I would check out the Knight Rider Historians. And this book is great. It's episode guides and lots of interviews and all kinds of stuff. A couple years later, in 2008, Nick Nugent came out with the Knight Rider Companion, which is a huge, huge book with tons of images and information, another episode guide, and a different experience than the Knight Rider Legacy. And I recommend them both if you're a fan. You can get a lot from both of these books. And these were the 2 main books that I had on Knight Rider for quite a few years. Then a few years later, in 2012, Joe Huth came back again with Knight Rider, 30 Years of a Lone Crusader and His Talking Car in 2012. So there are similarities between this and the first book. And, it has episode guides and a lot of other things, but it's sort of like a revised, this is 10 years later, like almost a revised edition with a bunch of new stuff. This was, of course, in 2012. So this was when the 30th anniversary came out. So this was also after 10 more years of Joe Huth doing his Knight Rider historian stuff. So, he had gathered a lot more information and acquired items from the show, and also conducted a lot of interviews during that time that he talks about in the Historian's YouTube channel, when they do these awesome episode commentaries where they talk about everything that has to do with the particular episode they're talking about, and they often bring up how they interviewed a guest star on that show or one of the stunt people or something like that. And so a lot of that's included in his books. And then finally, just last year, was it this year? I think it was earlier this year, we got Nick Nugent returned with the Knight Rider Companion Abridged Edition, which is, the interesting thing is it's abridged, but it's actually longer. It's actually a longer book, a bigger book, I should say. And lots more and different varied information than the original version. So those are 4 books from 2 different authors. I should mention that this one was with David Bronstein, if I didn't mention that. So Joe Huth has a co-writer, I guess, for each of the books, but a different one for each of the books. But nonetheless, he's the main driver behind that information, as is Nick Nugent with his couple of books. So there you have it. Those are the 4 books. Let's see if I can pick them up. They're all pretty big. That's all the information you'd ever need on Knight Rider right there, okay? Now just a couple more items in my personal collection. Back in the day, the UK used to always release these annuals that just has like information on shows and images and some interviews and behind the scenes stuff, and even like little comic book adventure you can see right there. This was the annual for the first season that came out in 1982, 83. So I don't remember how I got this or when I got this, many years ago. Then I have the Knight Rider album from season 2. Kind of a funny image of Hasselhoff there with a red jacket and standing in front of just a regular Trans Am. He's not in front of an actual kit Trans Am right there. But this was season 2. There you go. You can see that season 1, season 2 dash. And I know it's season 2 because this was published in 1984, which would have been at the end of season 2. And in the images, it shows the cast, and you can see Rebecca Holden as April there. So this is, I believe the whole thing was, yeah. Well, there's some, yeah, all season 2. So there's some images from the Goliath episode. And a couple of kids things here. Is the Knight Rider color and activity book. I think I found this at a thrift store about 20 years ago, uncolored, unblemished, really. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pick that up for $25 or whatever it was I paid for it. And so I've been able to keep that. I should bag these and board these like a comic book. They're getting old enough now. This was copyright. Does it have a copyright? Doesn't even show a copyright. Probably came out, I would guess, between probably 83 and 84 would be my guess. That's when it really took off. And then finally, this Knight Rider kit vanishes. This was one of those hear and read. See the pictures, hear the story, read the book. And it came with a record. And this one is missing the record, but you can actually go on YouTube and find the audio to this. And so and this was another thrift store find, I think. I do remember having this when I was a little kid. But you see some of the images there, some of the extra stuff. So I'm not really a collector of little extra stuff. I mean, it just takes up space to me. I'm not a toy collector. I just happen to have a few of these items because Knight Rider was my favorite show growing up. So there's a little wind-up car. You know, you kind of pull back, you know, you roll it back. Let's see if I can do it on camera here. And then, you know, it moves forward on its own with a little spring-loaded thing. And finally, the last thing I bought back in, I think, 2013, I would say. And that is this Hot Wheels 1/18 scale replica. And it was really cool. This is the box to it. And I thought, well, you know what? This will be the last thing I really need for display. And it's really well done. There's the information on the bottom. If you want to pause it there and take a look. And this is it. It's a little dusty. I had to wipe it off. But this is the actual scale model. And I don't know if you can tell, but it was super well done with the amount of detail on this. And it has a working scanner, but for this video, it is not working because I think the battery's just gone dead. It needs a new battery, I think. But the hood opens, and it kind of shows an engine as if it was, fictionalized for the show. And you know, the hatch opens. You can see inside there, and it's really detailed as a 82 Trans Am would have been detailed. And you can also see how, open a door here, how they've detailed the Let's see if we can see it in there. Get a decent shot of it. The dash. They really did a good job with the dash. And in fact, these seats, I popped it up. It has ejector seats. So you gotta raise the sunroof. So just like the show, the seats are ejector seats. And I can't remember exactly how to prop them down and do them properly, but here's another shot of from the other side. Maybe do a video on this later on. Just I can dig into it a little better and remind myself of how everything works and such. But really well detailed. There's a look at the bottom. They kind of did it to where, you know, this would have been how Kit actually would have looked if, you know, they were able to actually make a stunt car look like this. You can see these like rockets rocket blasters underneath here, and you know, some things like that. So there you have it, folks. That is Knight Rider, 1982 to 1986 television show, my favorite television show of my childhood. And today, as of the posting of this video, it is the 40th anniversary of the show. Premiered on September 26, 1982. Today is September 26, 2022. Where has the time gone? We're getting old. Who knows? Maybe Knight Rider will come back again with a fun, I don't know, revival, continuation, something that us fans that really love the show can really get into and really enjoy as adults, I guess. But time will tell. We'll have to see. So, hey, thanks for joining me on this video. I will be back again with some more haul videos and some reviews of Blu-rays and 4K UHDs and even some DVDs. So until then, I'll see you next time.